Looks like we're started now. Welcome back, everyone, for more live development. Tonight I'm going to be showing off some of the improvements I did for the matchmaking and customization for your lobbies. I also did some updates for the character select stuff, so you can see in the play menu here I've updated a lot of the these things to actually reflect the accurate times and actual character names. So we'll just go through and I'll show you some quick things that we did in the downtime, and I found some solutions to some issues that we had last time. So here's my new, make a new game. Got random names here. Go ahead and just switch that guy, that seems fine. Okay, let me actually go back. You can see date time has updated on this character, so that is the correct time. So even when I go to these guys, if I jump in and I hit back, it should update his date time to be correct. So that stuff's all working now in the save game file. Actually grabbing all the player portraits for the heroes that we have selected, and then the names are also selected. So I'm going to go through and show off the thing I was working on last time was the missions and matches. And what I mean by that is we have these, when you create an online match, it has to create a custom lobby on Nakama, just like a custom match, what do you call it? Just kind of a data table on Nakama in my mission manager, which is basically feeding data to the server so that when someone searches for online games, they can find it. I'll show you what that means here. So when I create an online match, it won't just create the match, because normally with how Nakama sets up their match system for non-authoritative servers is it doesn't actually do any logic except give you the match ID, and then it connects peers to that ID. So the way I do it here is I actually change whenever I've created a match, get the callback on the one client, and I actually create a custom match which has these parameters set in it. And this is the Lua for the server. And I track like how many players are on the match, on the custom match, so I can track them. I can track them, the name of the session, the name of the match, the mission that it's taking place, the player counts on that that server reflection of the match. Then when somebody calls get custom match info list to populate, it'll actually populate the correct amount. So what I did is this. I'm going to show you, I'll open up somebody else here and we can take a look at when I hit find now it'll pull the server, request the custom match. It actually brings down a big JSON file of all these matches, and right here it's just printing out the current matches, the name of the match, which is actually just the lobby leader's name and match, and then I've got the mission name here and the number of players. So if I connect, it'll connect me over here. You can see that both players are now in the server. I can also show you, that's a couple more people here. We can take a look at, let's grab these guys and bring them over, what it looks like for more and more players. So now the match has 2 out of 4 players in it. It's still the match owner, and he can click and he can join in. And what I ended up running into, and this is the problem I had at the end of the last stream, was even though the sockets were up, the Nakama's session was timing out. And the session is basically the connection to the server where I can send updates to the custom match. And so what would happen is the lobby leader who sends this data up to the custom match on the server, he would time out and he wouldn't be able to reconnect. And I actually talked with the Snopek Games guy who built the connector that I'm using to Nakama, and we found some solutions. It was actually a bug in the way he set it up. It was closing the socket, so it was actually right when I reset the session, the socket was closing at the same time, which is booting everybody out of the game, because that's what it should do. So let me go ahead and join this guy with the last one, and then I'll show you what this other stuff I did. So the other cool thing I did is now, originally I had the mission come up as a class, which would contain all the information about the mission, into the lobby, and every player would have their own. We should leave the lobby with this guy. That's bad. Let me pick a new character. This guy. Okay, so then the mission would have a class, and the problem with that mission class is I needed a good way to replicate it across easily, and so I made a new class called Mission Data, and that would allow me to do things like this, where I can actually click this button here for change mission, and it would actually give me a different mission. And right now it's just randomizing between the missions that are out there, but all my other clients get that information. If they were to join that mission and jump in now, they would have the correct data they would need, just because you're warning me. Okay, OBS, I guess it's back. Hopefully the stream didn't end. Let me take a look. Let me take a look at YouTube, see if it stopped the stream. Okay, I think the stream is still up. Cool. That was weird. So, now the mission's changed, and on top of that, because I've set it up to be a custom mission on the server, I can actually leave the lobby with one of these guys, and when I do that search again, you notice that the missions has actually changed here. Now, if I were to change the mission again, like to survival, this list is not going to update until I pull down the custom games again. So if I click it, it should update to survival. So let me go through just the stuff I found after we just run a real quick game to make sure everything else is running. I also changed how this voting system worked. Originally, the voting system was each individual client had control of whether they were voting or not, and it would send that to all the other clients. And I really wanted the server to control that because I need to make sure that the mission is correct, and I need to make sure that the match state is correct to move them out of the lobby into the game. So this guy, last guy vote to start, should just launch it. So all clients, looks like they all launched in fine. And now I just move around real quick with one of these guys. Which one am I looking at? Okay, I'll grab this guy. So this guy is the... Oh man, that guy dropped fast. This guy is the leader. So you're seeing the server here. But everybody else is updating correctly. I don't know what happened with that character, but I can revive him real quick. We'll take a look. So you can see all the other clients are also. But let me go ahead and show you guys what I did to solve some of the problems. And also one other thing that I found with the Nakama stuff from Snopek that I changed. So what I normally do is I have this. I've got actually two locations that I call this in. One is I've got this Nakama network class, which is in C#, and then I actually have a Nakama broker, which is kind of my go-between. And what I do is I tend to just register for events here, and I call events on my broker class, which gets it into the Godot script. I typically don't like to code in Godot scripts, so that's basically why most of my things are coming from C# into it, and I just try to rely as much as I can on his stuff for the networking. So what it does is normally I've got this thing, create match, which is just creating the same kind of matches that is done in his online match setting over here. And I'll show you where his I don't like the search function of this thing. He's got a create match call here, and then he has a call back for when the match is officially created, and I use that to create a custom match, which the custom match, all that it does is when he gets the call back, let's create custom, he gets the match ID, and I send a payload, a JSON payload of different elements up to the server using the Nakama APIs, its custom RPCs. And that sends it to this Lua script. So, you create the match here, you can destroy the custom matches, you add players to them through this, you remove players from them, and this is the new one I added to change the name, which will actually modify the mission name, and then when it receives it on the clients, they will be able to load into the correct mission. So let's just real quickly show you the problem I ended up hitting first, which was this. Session is active. Now, going to this function here, it's pretty simple. It's just checking to see if I have a session and it's not expired, or it's not a problem, or it's not null. So basically, like I said, the session is what connects to the server and back. And my little check here was to, all right, the session is not active. That means something's wrong. So I made a new function called connect Nakama session by device. And what this would do is it would run a function at the bottom here, which is basically figuring out my connection is, all my Nakama connects right now are based on the device. I'm not doing anything fancy with, different accounts right now. I make sure the thing has actually expired and is ready to go, because if not, then I don't need to give it a new session. So if the session isn't expired, it's still good to go. So just early out. And here's where I call the authenticate async, and then I determine if it's the correct one, and that's all set. The problem that happened was there is a set session. Let me find it. Set Nakama. Maybe it's not online. Set Nakama session. So in the original code, the session would end up closing any active sockets. And when the active socket closed, it would kick all the players out. So whenever the server would try to reconnect, or the owner of the match would try to reconnect to the Nakama server and re-establish to send messages up to change the information about the match, it would close it down. So deleted that in there. And the other thing that I did that I noticed was an issue is this function connect Nakama socket. So originally there was and you can take a look. Let me see if I can link. I'll just show off his website here. So here's the tutorial for it. Just Snopek Games. Take a look. It was pretty easy to follow, even if you're not a big into network programming. And I'm learning Godot, and I'm learning how this Nakama thing connects to it. And this was just the best solution for me personally. One of the problems though I found here is that he's got this connect Nakama socket. There was a function on this that checked if the socket was not null. And that works great if you're closing the socket and actually nulling it every time. But a lot of times when the socket closes, it doesn't null. So I just removed that section. Let me show you where that was a problem. There's a function in here called leave, and this leave function is called a number of times. Let's find the actual function. Oh, I can't. It's skipping it because it's actually got a parameter. Okay, so he has this function called leave, and he's got a close socket. The trouble is even in this function, when you were to close the socket, it never sets it to null. So whenever you tried to reopen or reestablish a socket connection, or even just make sure the socket was open, it would early return and not tell you that it was. I'm about to turn this into a bool and make sure that the socket returns true. This is just printing out errors right now. If it's not going to return a correct socket. So that was the other part, is I had sockets that were staying open when they didn't need to. But other than that, everything else is cleaned up. And that's most of the stuff that really I've been working on for the time between, just making sure those two things work out. Let me take a look one more time and make sure I didn't forget anything. So I did the update to these save missions. Yep, that's about it. So I think that is all there really is new to this. I did make some changes to this variable sending across, and I can show what that looks like too. And I can show you how I pack up we talked a little bit about replication last time with rep vars. And I can show you how I managed to turn the mission data into something that's a single variable that I want to make sure that because when you replicate a mission across, you want to make sure that all the pieces of data are correct. You can't just send one type of variable across. And I'll show you what it looks like. So I made a class called mission data, and basically what this class is supposed to do is it turns these into effectively a struct that is sent over all at the same time, because you don't want to just get the mission name and then have the wrong level. Because then if people get into a weird state where they're loading the wrong level for a different mission name, then all sorts of bad things happen. So I always want to make sure this data, whenever it gets sent across, it's getting sent across at once, and that you don't get these weird states. So what I did is I made a couple of functions on here, a couple of static functions, which may or may not need to be static, that convert the data from these variables into a byte array, and then I have one that decodes the bytes. Okay, and that's basically, I'm sure there are lots of, whenever you're doing like packets that you're passing across and you're writing functions across, that's essentially what they're doing with like the packet sending and receiving, is they're converting these parameters that sent this RPC into a byte array, and then they're decoding them on the other side. Out of the byte array and turning it into the functions, into the parameters you see on the other side. So where is like this stuff, and I'm basically just doing it as a single byte packet, and I can show you why that's important. Let me show you. I think it's under match. Okay. Make sure I'm actually looking at the right there. So instead of having a mission, just a straight up mission associated with the match, so every match is like the highest level component of getting players to play together, or even just playing solo. It gives you all the information about, what level you're going into, what mission it is, whether you're going to go into a lobby when it loads, the state of that. And originally it was just this mission, and that mission I create all these missions ahead of time. Missions can actually get pretty complicated because they have a lot of underlying data that they perform through when like a mission is ticking. It will do all sorts of stuff like spawning monsters. It handles a lot more information than we really need for here. So what I did is I set where is my mission data? Match mission. Here's my mission data. And you see that this mission data is, I have a public getter here. I'm gonna have to convert this into, this is a public variable right now, but I really have to change that. So when a match is created, I now no longer set a mission in the match. I set mission data instead. Like I said, mission data is just these 4 variables combined, packed together, that I can convert in and out, and then I can eventually convert them into a full-on mission. And that will give me all, when the thing finally loads, that's the kind of, that gives you all the function calls and logic for the mission. So here, the reason that that's public right now is because I have it as a replicated property. And we talked about last time how I handle replicated properties is the property is associated with some variable, and a simple one is like this. It's an enum. It converts the enum into when it sets it, it converts the enum into the byte value that it's supposed to be and changes it there. And when it grabs it, it converts the byte value back into the enum. That's like the most basic. This one is a little more complicated because I am not just getting a single property. I'm actually getting a class out of this. And so when it sets the data, it converts it into these bytes and takes the value that's going in is going to be a mission data class, runs this static function, decodes 2 bytes, breaks all the variables up, copies them into a byte array, and returns them. And then it changes the property down here of this rep bar. Whenever you grab this thing, it will actually read the bytes and decode them and return you a new class. So that's the big difference. These are just functions to uncode and code byte arrays. And I have a property changed on this mission data, and when the property changes, I send that out as a delegate to all the classes, so that's essentially what the lobby will read and what the clients will read in that lobby. Now, just because it changes here and it changes across clients doesn't mean it gets sent to the server. So I have another section where I actually send it to the network as well, and that is currently called from I believe it's called from a button click update mission name here. So let me go find this guy. Yeah, so this guy's coming right from the menu, and ideally we don't put it here. We put it when the mission data changes. The only thing I don't really have is I guess we could just move that now actually, because well I need to change how this right now it's just grabbing a random mission out of my available missions list and setting it. So this is something that I'll put in the to-do. I eventually want to move it out of here. Move it right into the match, because the match can drive this data to send it to the network. Okay, so that's the majority of the work that changed, and I want to get into some more gameplay scripting, and specifically I want to get into creating a couple of new triggers for my my level editing. Let me just go to Photoshop real quick. Open that guy up. I want to add a couple trigger icons to my tile map here. Okay. Editor. I think I've got a markup map and I've got a scripting map. I think this is what I need. Scripting map. Okay. I think I've got an unflattened version. Even better. Actually, let me see. I must have applied some filter to this thing. I'll have to reapply that filter then. Again, the grid is all off. Pretty sure this is 32. I guess it's 64. Okay, so what I really need to do is I just need to add a couple more elements here. I want to add a new. Grab this. A new trigger type. And that one's going to be called, let me see, monster. I'm just grab one of these and clone it. So this is going to be called a gather party trigger. And what that means is trigger fit it. And then we've got, let's just grab the A. So with this trigger, what I want to have happen is I want to be able to place down a bunch of these triggers next to each other. And when the party is within all of these triggers, or the whole party is within any number of these triggers, it will trigger the events of the A. I don't know what you call those. What do I even call those? They're just events. So normally I've got like these proximity triggers. If you are within proximity of a tile that is E, if you're like in that tile, it'll trigger anything else that's associated with E. So like this monster single will spawn a monster on that tile. So I want to do a gather trigger, and I want to do another type of thing. So when the party gathers, I think the safest thing I could do is probably like, because eventually I want this thing to spawn walls to block the party in, have a fight, and then when the fight completes, the walls go down. And I'm trying to figure out how I would do that just in the level data and just in the scripting data. Because, and I could link a monster to some triggers, like link their life or their spawning to some trigger that ends when the monster's dead. I think that's kind of weird. It may be a time thing. I don't know. I'll think about it. But I think the first thing I want to do is probably do a spawn trigger. So I got a gather trigger, hooray. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Let's call it open. We'll have it open doors. And that way, anybody who's on this location, or anybody who triggers this, it'll open some object that this tile is on. So I need to, I think I want to put all these in a folder and just group all these and apply the filter. How the hell do I do that now? Did you change that? Alright, well, I'll deal with that later. But I wanna, I'll just flatten this guy. Save. Oh no, I don't want to flatten the whole thing. I need the transparency. What I need to do is rasterize all these layers. And then I need to go this layer style. Okay, I think it had a color overlay of white and an outline of black. Alright, good enough. Alright, and the best thing to do is probably open up my chunk I use for my testing ground, which is the northeast southwest. So this is the one I end up using for a lot of my tests. I want to go to my scripting map for, this is the player start tile, here's my scripting map. And you see I've got player spawn slots. I must have other slots here. Boom. More slots for more players to spawn. And what I want is I want an open trigger on this blue door, and I want a proximity. So if I stand here with any character, it should open this door. This is how it's going to be set up. I need to go into how I used to do this. This is here's my scripting. Take a look at how I set this up last time. So these are spawner tags. What I need is are the triggers, and these are spawners. So what I need actually is a new kind of scripting item type, because all I have are spawners and triggers right now. What I need is a different kind. So I'll call this guy an open. I need to add a new item name. Ooh, I have a lot of them. Okay. Where did I put that in the tile set? That one was just after visible A, ACD, trigger A, and open 1. So placeholder, party, we could call it gather A, and then open A. Okay, so those are the two kinds. Hopefully I didn't get it backwards. Okay, trigger gather, open. What I need is I need ability to assign this open A. Actually, let me just add it to the list up here. This gets, you know, pretty complicated when you've got so many variations of things. But most of the structure is already here from what I built in the past. So that's going to be helpful for adding more stuff. This is going to be a new kind of the open event's going to be something new. So what I need to do is I need to figure out a way to assign it to the obstruction, because a door is just an obstruction type that's in the level. And I had a way that I've done something similar in that I've checked for when doors are opened in tiles. And I think it's mostly because I use entry level. So it's mostly because I use the tiles visibility. Item type. All right, let me just take a look. All right, so item type, populate. Make sure the level's loaded. We have to make sure this thing's loaded before we just get the cells. And I'm gonna add triggers to these things. And what I want to do is I want to make sure, so this is for triggers, but I want to do something for opening. And then I want to identify if an object that's in the tile. So I actually, let me just grab this. We've got the world tile here for where the thing is. And just move all this up. Position, item name. So interesting. So I'm adding trigger data here. What am I using that? That's interesting. Okay, has triggers. Get triggers. I don't think I do anything with them. Let me see. Oh, because maybe it's every time you go into a tile. Populate. This is spawn point data. Okay, so what this is doing here is this one's actually adding spawn points and assigning the triggers to the spawners that are being spawned. Now, I can't do that. I want to do the opposite. I want to actually have this guy find the obstruction in his tile. So what I need to find the obstruction. So I have the world tile, which is here. This isn't a trigger. This is something like this. This is like, I need instead of spawn point data is where it's populating, I need to populate something else. I need to populate open. Yeah, because it looks like it's populating the trigger data, which is close, and then it's populating the spawners, and it's connecting the spawners to the triggers. Okay, now I think I know what to do. And this connects the spawners name numeric or the letter to each other. It breaks into the A's. These are the C's or D's. And then trigger type. Yeah, what I need. Where is this being called? Because I'm not seeing it on here. This must be called somewhere higher up. Okay, so in the markup menu, it actually goes through each one of these and populates the data. Let's go ahead and do it in the other one. Open datas. Let's call them like open. Let's call them event datas because I feel like I'll call it open datas for now because I will. Who knows how long it'll be before I look at this thing again. Okay. And really, the way this is working out, I probably should change this because this doesn't actually help me because I have to iterate through them twice. Although I really do need to because the triggers should be populated first so that everybody can look for the triggers for the events that are, like the spawners can look for the triggers for events that are actually, and hook into those. So that kind of makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find... I'm going to iterate through the cells. Actually, I want to iterate through the one with the world tiles. Again, because that was really useful. I want these. I want the world tiles. Because then I can check the world tile. And, because, we'll see. Let me see. All right, so my cells are here. That's my cell ID. And I only want to check for if my item type is the correct item type, which is open. And I want to do stuff. I want to do something with, like... I don't care about the trigger data stuff. What I want to find is if there is a obstruction in here. So world tile dot obstruction. Get the obstruction. And I want to see if it's null, obviously. Or is instance valid. I think that's a get obstruction. I want to do something to it. I want to have. Now I need to bind the trigger, if it has a trigger to it, to that obstruction. And let me go to the obstruction. Quick. Let me take a look also as a reference to the spawn point. Okay, so it looks like my spawn point is going to have a set of assigned. Unless I'm crazy, maybe, yes it does. It's got a set of assigned trigger tiles and proximity tiles. So that's good. Interesting. So I'm gonna have to do something like that, and then I want to. I don't know why it's not a list. It'd be nice if it was just a list I keep adding. Yeah. Where do we do here? We go here and we go, if you're a spawner, get valid triggers and assign the tiles. So I'm going to go to this. I'm going to get valid spawners and assign tiles. So I'm going through get triggers by ID, which this my ID is actually set by the open data. So when it creates one of these, it gets the ID and it gets the tags. What I want is just this, the ID from the item name. So I need to actually make sure that whatever's passing in here is actually going to be the correct thing. So what I have here is a scripting item with A. Item name, open A. Now I know that it's going to be A coming into here, along with these spawners. And then it's going to take these. I can do this. I can get my obstruction. Oh, I just want to actually grab this thing. Obstruction. And it looks like those are private here. But I don't know why I would want them private on obstructions, because they're loaded. I don't really have a constructor to set. Maybe let's just make them public over. Now that I have all these tiles, I need to find information from them. So this is the one I want, like this tile proximity trigger. Looks like this thing, when it sets the data, it iterates through all of them. And it will... Let's just grab this guy. Because the obstruction's alive, and it's ready at this point. I feel like I could do like a function like set trigger data. And that should bring me just really want proximity trigger tiles. Let me just do that one first. I'm just gonna do the proximity trigger tiles right now, and then we'll do both. I don't even know if I need them up here. I still want them up here. I want them to do up here, actually. So I need a tile array. Another tile array. Visibility tiles. I'm sure there are smarter people than me who can something better than what I'm doing. This is a good first start. I'll have to clean it up later. No doubt. Now that I've got this guy here, I'm going to set proximity trigger tiles. Okay. And I want to... Why is that doing that? That's bizarre. If I'm not equal to null, get the length, and then I want to... So on creatures update, which means that a creature has entered that thingy. And I want to go ahead and implement a function here. Let's just do this. I'm going to create a region here because I feel like this is going to get pretty big. Okay, so, I don't care about this crap. The creature's a hero. I probably do want that creature to be a hero because that's going to be the most useful part of this. And this tells me the new creatures that are in the list. If any creature in the list is a hero, we are proximity triggered. And what do I do with a proximity triggered? I want to call a function that my subtype. So all of my instructions are a base. They're apparent that subtypes live on top, or that subtypes live on top of like a door or whatever. I need to know how. You know what? I can do this. I can make this a protected virtual, and actually, I should probably just do that as private, and then I want to make a protected virtual. Virtual void. Actually, I don't even do it here. I can do it here. I can do it on the obstruction subtype. Obstruction subtype. Okay, so subtype is the lowest type of obstruction. I don't know what to call it in the subtype, but basically doors, crates, all these things are subtypes, are the children of subtypes. So what I need is just a function in here. You see all these functions are mostly just overridden. We'll call it protect, actually public. On trigger. And I'll probably end up sending parameters up this way with different triggers, because I think we're gonna want to handle different events, different triggers differently. So what I want to do here, real quick, is if instance set a type node. Since I've already got the subtype here, just make sure the subtype is valid before we send information across to it, and we'll call on subtype on triggered. In theory, we could do it the other way, where the subtype is listening for this trigger event on its parent. But I don't know what the benefit of that would be, because it would either make a delegate that would fire off. I think this is probably the right way to go, because there's not going to be more than one thing listening to it. Okay, so it's triggered here. And get rid of this. Now I'm going to go let the door. Door lock. It's called. Got a bunch of a locked door. Open door. That's what we want to call. Find. Let's go down here. Public override void on triggered, and call open door. Okay. I'll just double check. So proximity. What I want to do is I probably want to run this the first time through to make sure the markup map actually set the instruction. So what I want to do is where it sets the trigger data, I want to make sure it gets here. And I want to make sure that's markup. I want to make sure we go to here. Here, we want to grab, make sure I have the cells, and I'll just step through that stuff. Okay, so sandbox is the very basic. Place solo should be loading. So it got here, populates the data. It has the cell count. Great. It has the cells that are used in the tile map. Got their locations. It's going to grab the scripting name. So proximity A, we're going to jump through a couple of these just so we know we have it. So I know there's probably more. Player slot 1. Player slot 1, it's probably because I didn't assign those properly. Player slot 2. Open A. So we do have the open tile. Excellent. So, open tile should get all the way into here. It did not. So, where did that break? Okay. I'm gonna have to do that again. I'll just do a real quick, if item name equals E, open A. And I'll just put a breakpoint in here so we don't have to go through the whole thing. Okay, so we're here. we've got to open A. I'm going to go into item type. Continue. So item name, open A. Go to this guy. It should hit. Okay, it did hit. And then it goes, all right, we got to find the obstruction in here. So there is no obstruction in that world tile, which doesn't seem right because we've loaded the level at this point. Have we? Maybe we haven't loaded the level. Maybe the markup map doesn't occur until before without loading the obstruction list yet. You know what? That might actually be it. Because the level loads. That sucks. Okay. What to do there? Because the obstruction does not exist. So I think the thing I did correctly with these spawn points is I set up the data for the spawn points way back here. And then when I called spawn them, they had the data associated already in their spawn method. Okay, he's ready, he's got data set, I believe. Let's go find where I set the data. So yeah, after the whole level's loaded, because of the spawn point manager, this might be interesting. The way that I load levels is done through a series of loads for different managers. Let me go to my mission. Like I was saying, the mission contains a lot of information, but it does this process of loading different managers as it goes through. And that's interesting, though. It looks like, unless I'm crazy, the scripting managers are loaded at the very end. Let me take a look at the standard mission. There should be a standard mission base that I don't... Why is that one not in the list? Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, here's the standard mission base. This is one I'll actually go... I'll actually go down each component. So this one will load the level. It loads the level. And I'm wondering, just because this loads, and does the level load with each chunk, and then does the scripting managers with it? Let me see. Because then it goes through here, lighting managers, spawn point manager. Okay, so it does. It must load the level information way back here, and doesn't load the scripting manager. I mean, the scripting manager is basically just the spawn point manager, which I probably need to change that logic. That's unfortunate. Gonna have to do some reconfiguring for something like that then. I wonder if I can do, let me go to load level. Loads a chunk, and when the chunk is ready, the chunk contains all the scripting that it needs. mock-up map is on a chunk. Now, all of this information is loaded from the chunk. So what I probably could do, actually, this is not a bad idea, because this is the same pattern I had before where I would load it all into these datas. And then I would use the datas at the last stage to apply these events. So maybe I can create a struct. That sounds reasonable. Let's do that. Go grab this guy, go to definition here, and find this guy. Okay, so he actually just sits on this thing. I'm gonna make another way. We'll call this open event data. And what I need is just the I don't need spawner information. I do need the tile. So what I want to do is I want to grab the tile. I can't grab the obstruction, so I have to grab the tile. I don't know if I need position though. Let's just do that. Let's go ahead and add our list. Okay, now that I have here, instead of grabbing the obstruction and checking for all this junk, I will just create a data. I think they do it here where it just goes, okay, create one. This will be where all my open datas are set. Yeah, right now all of the scripting events in game are actually just handled on a per chunk basis, and that's just why the chunks are fairly big. I think, and that's just, there's a million ways to handle like larger worlds and larger games, but I think the tile size is just what I need for this. So let me go ahead and I don't need to check for this stuff. Just need to create something. Okay. Don't know why it needs a name for the spawn point, but I am assuming that that's fine. Oh, that actually is really useful. The ID. Want the ID because I need to know if the thing in the tile. No, I need to know where the triggers are actually. I don't really need the ID. I'll bring it along anyway. So that'll be the ID. This tag stuff is mostly just because spawners are actually like being spawned entirely. I want to hook into the assigning the data. Dot tile. World tile. I guess I don't need the world location. Now, oh, I need all this stuff. I need all this stuff. I need cloud trigger tiles and assigning them. And I need to go down here and go open event data, stuff add my new event data. Okay. Now I have all these tiles. I'm going to take my open data, proximity tiles are proximity trigger tiles to array, data, visibility tiles to array. Okay. Cool. Now that I have that, I need to figure out where this... So I'm guessing that spawn point manager is actually doing work to spawn these guys and assign their data. But I want to just do this as a proof of concept. I don't want to spend all that time. Let me take a look at... let me take a look at the standard mission. I can just do it right in there, maybe. Okay, I believe... Actually, let me go to this, that spawn point manager to take a look. Yeah, see, this spawn point manager loads. It grabs all the stuff in my level manager. That makes perfect sense. It grabs the spawn point datas and then it creates them and adds... it creates them here. It sets the data. Okay, perfect. What I want is another thing called like a scripting manager. But for now I can do it right in here, actually. Let me just do it right in here. I'm not even sure why I got a random node generator there. That's kind of interesting. Oh no, I would probably reuse it. Okay, so what I also want to do in here is I want to get my list of open event datas. Level manager. So right here, I bet it's just going through for each chunk, and it's grabbing those. Let's take the same pattern. And use the same thing. All my chunks are loaded. Here's my little chunks I want to get the... Why is that set that way? Alright, so it goes here. What sets that thing? Because that's... So when it loads these tile maps, it actually loads information about objects that's going to spawn. I want to create another one called open event datas. I think I want to split that up because I eventually want to do more complicated scripting events in here. It doesn't show... Okay, so the triggers don't really exist in a real sense. They're just tiles. So they don't really need their own data set. Let me go find where this thing is called in here. Populate data lists. goes through the variant maps on a chunk and it assigns them. Okay. Because my variant maps are a markup map, is it just not going deep enough? Yeah, it's just here. That's really weird. So populating these datas here somehow sets the data up here. I mean, it's just grabbing it from there. Why does it have a setter? Okay, well, I knew the same concept here. Is I need to do my scripting map. Scripting map over here. It sets them, and I have a getter over here. Okay. Get open event datas. Okay, I kind of understand how I did this last, but okay, it's been so long. I could probably inject into the chunk itself, go through each markup map. It looks like it's kind of doing that, and grabbing the data out of there. I guess it does. It's got something here where it'll return this thing if it has none, but that thing is never set. I'm not sure why that's done that way. Because the markup map could get it as a maybe because these are just set and there is no chance that a scripting map doesn't exist. I mean, that's got to be what happens, is that the spawn point doesn't exist without the scripting map. That's the weirdest thing. Anyway, if there's nothing, I'm going to return null because I don't want to add another variable there if I don't have to. Get open event datas. Now I've got event datas. Okay. So it goes through each variant map, grabs its open event datas and has them here for later use, and then in the level manager, it goes through here, get all the open event datas in the level, and grabs them from here. It must be more efficient to cache them out and then grab them later than run through every chunk. That's probably why I did that. Yeah. Okay, so now I go through this, get open event datas and level, and I want to return all of these guys. Let's see. I've got chunk datas. I get the. So for every chunk, I'm loading through each chunk, and I'm actually adding it to this guy. That's the information on the chunk, and then adding the open event datas for each chunk. was this listing for? Yep, right here. Get open event data level. Now I have it. Now what I want to do is I want to iterate through each one. I'm going to do a for each because it's late. Data in. And I want to go find the data. I want to find the tile. Data affected tile. And now this is where I'm going to do it. I'm going to find the obstruction. Equals affected tile dot get obstruction. If we're going to go do the stuff we wanted to earlier, which is basically take the OBS and add it was set trigger data, and I need to find my data dot proximity tiles and data dot visibility trigger tiles. Okay, I think that's when that's set. We'll find out. Find out that will work properly. We did crawl through a bunch of syntax, so it may be an issue. So I've got open door, proximity A. Let's play it right out of here and make sure we actually get the hit for here. That guy here, don't care. You want to get all the way. Oh, okay. An error. Open event data is null. So the scripting map is not. Oh, so I just gotta check here because I'm populating it. Which is weird because I think this one is... How could that one possibly not just be null too? Like, it's a possibility. Maybe because I have spawn points on every section of the tile? Actually, I want to go here, I want to play. I don't think I got it because I didn't hit the breakpoint. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back through this and figure out what I messed up. Okay. I need to figure out where I populate. So I populate the open data. In here, open data get set. I create a big list of them. And I can return that list from here. Okay. Now, where does this guy get called? They get called from this guy. Get open event data. The scripting map is not equal to null. Grab this guy. And this thing This thing is called from here. Assigned variant map. And I know for a fact I'm going to be getting this specific map. And then in here, you better find it. Okay. But it's not finding it somewhere along the path here. Okay, so it did add one. This is it's got a tile. That tile looks more or less correct. It's got a name. It's got two proximity tiles, which, does that make sense? Do I have two proximity tiles in there? I thought I just had one. There may be another one. Oh, there is another one. There's another one on the... No, there can't be. There's two proximity tiles. Where are they? Take a look. First tile is in 37, 31. Second tile is in 53, 40. We'll take a look at those locations. 5340 is pretty far to the south. And then, alright, so it added one. It has a second one, which makes sense. And then here, it goes... Gets the open data, and it has... It's not nulling out there. It's adding it. Well, that's easy. Continue. Continue. This should be null now, right? Oh, because I actually have, you know, this is part of the problem. I gotta actually turn that down because I actually have several copies of this chunk in the same location. But it didn't set it to the obstruction, which tells me that something else worked. Let me go to the level manager and actually have more chunks in this than I need. I only want it to be the single chunk. Okay, well, it's getting through. It's just missing the last piece where the spawn point manager is finding it. That's where I need to figure out what's going on. And really, I should go into the chunk and delete the other trigger. Okay. I don't need to go through this because they're found, and we're actually getting through. Okay, here's the important piece. We've got the data, we've got two of them. There are two open, and they have proximity trigger tiles. It's got no obstruction. Why? Why doesn't it have one? No obstruction in that tile. It's got no block movement type. You know, it's interesting because this X and Y are wrong. I'm guessing that I've got the wrong coordinates from the tile. It doesn't quite make sense to me because I get the tile information for the spawn points, and those come in fine. Let me go to this create spawn point. Global position. But I don't use the tile as a reference point. And maybe that's the problem. Let me go look at my scripting map again. Okay, so when it creates the spawn point, it actually does something to the position data. Gets the world location. Oh, it halves the tiles. But it gets the tile from the world location. Do I not do that here? That tile can't be that far across, though. We've got 30 tiles per. So that's not right. So the world tile. Affected tile is the world tile. Global position. Yeah, there's something wrong there because that tile is not right. Because that X. That X and Y are wrong. But how? Coordinated cells, location. You know, actually, the X and Y is correct because the world location is actually offset by 30. So it's not wrong. It's actually just not showing obstruction in that location. It doesn't make any sense though, because the obstructions should all be set up. Let's take a look again at the standard issue loading. So levels loaded, places the obstructions. Let's see what happens on load on this thing. So load activates level obstructions and then it defers a complete. That's going to be a problem too because we're not taking the time to make sure they've all accurately set into their tiles. and loaded their subtypes. All right, I'm gonna do this real quick. This is gonna be a hack. Actually, just copy the timer up here. Oh, where's a timer I can copy? There's a quick way to do this in Godot where you can set up a timer and then yield. It's gonna be async if I do it that way. Okay, let's just do it like this. All preferred to load complete. So we know this thing has loaded all of time. We'll do it 3 seconds. Let's do it 5 seconds. Okay. Let's just take a look and run it right in here. Make sure. Load complete, wait time. Wait time, auto start, yep. 3. 12,000, 2,000, 3,000. Okay. Oh yeah, that works. Yes, so the problem was that the subtype hasn't loaded up. But that is amazing and perfect. Okay. Let me just do that one more time. So there's a couple of ways to solve that I'm gonna have to rethink how the layout works. But a big 5-second delay gives enough time for all the world objects to load in before the character loads in, and then I've got this door can't get through, and I can walk over this trigger and boom, door's open. Perfect. Okay. And that way I can block areas off, or if I want, I can have, instead of just use opens for chests, I can do proximity opens for chests. The other thing I need to do is I need to think about how I'm going to make it so when right now, obstructions, you can see that we load these things called props all over the place. These, that's like the gold, anything that has like a proximity pickup or even just a use pickup that doesn't have a physical body, like a collider, is called a category of prop. And everything that has a physical collider, like these crates and chests and destructibles, doors, things like that, are all called obstructions. And the big difference is the obstructions right now are, obviously they're physics, so they do collide with characters, and the way that Godot handles its physics, it doesn't really like adding new colliders to the map, so I cache a big chunk of them at the very beginning. And ooh, this trigger broke somehow. There's a trigger that was supposed to be here, a proximity trigger. Maybe I broke all the triggers that weren't it. No, I didn't break them all. But I broke a trigger. Maybe I deleted it. I might have deleted it. Anyway. Yeah, so I cache a bunch of these things. And what I don't do right now is I don't actually dynamically spawn them. And I want to do that. I want to take these chests that are all over the place right now, that they have no way of being destroyed except for opening them, and then they kind of just sit there. I want to be able to spawn them at runtime. And the only problem with that is now that I spawn at runtime, or that I will respond at runtime, how do I handle scripting them? And I don't think there's a really clever way to do that right now. But it might not be necessary. It might not be something I actually need in the long term. But yeah, I think that's good enough for the stream right now. If you guys have any questions, just let me know in the comments, and we can go over some other things next time. I think I'm just going to go more into scripting, get that player, getting the party together kind of scripts, and try to script an event with a boss or something. All right, cool. Take it easy, guys.